Yeah, listen, I actually want to talk to you about something that happened right at the end of Rod Brind'Amour's career. So the 2009 2010 season. So I know you went to Anaheim to finish up that season, but it was let's just say awkward that year with Rod Brind'Amour and then head coach Paul Maurice. Christine Simpson sat down with Brind'Amour. I was in Raleigh for a couple of days doing some player interviews. Simmer sat down with Rod Brind'Amour and Paul Maurice. I want to play something for you and just get your reaction to it because Brind'Amour and you guys were players at this point. Paul Maurice is the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes. Here's Christine in conversation. It's about a 30-second clip, Aaron. This is Christine in conversation with Rod Brind'Amour. Have a listen to this.
So at the time, though, as you said, that the end of your playing career, I mean, he sat you a game.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
took away the captaincy.
Yeah. Basically, basically, you couldn't do much more to a guy that, to be honest with you, I mean, I think I did it right. I don't know that he would do that again, because I think, I learned a lot from that. I learned that's not how you treat your guys that do it right.
Interesting.
And your older guys, we had Justin Williams here at the end. Like I said, I'm not doing that to him. There's a way to do it. Right. And I think so. You do learn, but again, I don't have any hard feelings toward him on it. He made a decision on what he thought was best for the team.
Sure.
So, Wardo, what do you think of that answer?
He's not wrong, and I actually got to tell you, I think he's holding back, indicting the people that were guilty of all that. I don't necessarily know if, listen, let's just establish, in 2009, 2010, I was there for all that. It was one of the most embarrassing parts of my career. I was put on waivers that year. Never imagined that would be happening. We had a fire sale. I think 7 guys in less than an hour were traded at trade deadline, and it was basically, someone walk out the bench and give you the, come here finger, and you'd be gone. You'd be heading off to another town. About that situation, I don't think there's a better word in the English language to describe that situation, but the all-encompassing environment that existed in Carolina at that time is just other than dysfunctional. That I think maybe in this case the question was posed to Rod, and it falls on Paul Maurice because of their intersection right now in the playoffs. But the truth, a lot of the blame lies with Jim Rutherford. And what was happening was we had a GM who had a tight relationship with an owner, and the expectation after having been in Boston the year before, Carolina takes us out and fails to advance the Stanley Cup Finals after they don't beat Pitt. I think there was an idea that they just needed a few more pieces. So somehow someone didn't do their job or their homework, and they reacquired me, and I came in there, and we had a group of players that basically endured a year-long epic failure. So at some point during that season, a decision was made that you needed to transition the leadership and the voice that existed in that locker room to Eric Staal. Now, the problem for Stalzy is Stalzy didn't ask for this, right? You got a young guy that's in there. He's more or less modeled himself, and a lot of guys have modeled themselves after Rod Brind'Amour. And Stalzy's put in a tough situation because when it's brought to his attention and to his doorstep, what's the guy going to do? Say no? He's not going to take the captaincy? Of course he is. But the process and the failure to handle things properly, and there was an analogy when you played for the Carolina Hurricanes back in the day. It went, there's the right way, there's the wrong way, and then there's the Canes way. And they handled this the Canes way by sitting us in the locker room. I remember the disgusted feeling and the discomfort because you were witnessing literally a human car accident happening in the locker room when Jim Rutherford steps up and starts to explain to this locker room why we're making this change at this point. It's already been a tough season, right? The expectations are not being met from a personal standpoint or a team standpoint. And now you got a guy coming in there. So yes, Paul Maurice clearly has to give a blessing to making it that type of change as the head coach. But I would say that a lot of the blame lies above him in an office that exists 3 floors up and on the other side of the building from our locker room.
So just so I'm clear, our listeners are clear, our viewers are clear, this was a decision that was made above Paul Maurice, and whether it got his blessing or not, this is what was going to happen with the Canes?
Yeah, like I said, I can't convey. Listen, things had to change, but that is not what you change. You don't You don't take the guy who's your inspirational leader. You don't take the guy who sets the perfect example every single day by being the first guy that is in the locker room, the last guy that's in the locker room. He makes the team choice before himself every single time. He has for the length of his career, from the first day, from his inception in the league till the day he steps out. You couldn't create or design a better, more prototypically perfect hockey player than Rod Brind'Amour. And so how they handled it from a player's standpoint was utterly disgusting. But we have no say. We are a failure as a team. We're witnessing this happen. And honestly, the ship sank way faster. Like, we didn't just run aground. We basically split apart in that locker room the moment they did this, because we all know this is not how you do it. There's a level of like integrity that the National Hockey League and hockey overall as a game holds themselves to, and this is not how it's done. So all I'm telling you is, from my experience in that situation, Paul Maurice had a role in that, but I wouldn't put the majority of the blame on the shoulders of Paul Maurice. He does bear some blame, but beyond that, not all of it.
This one's on Rutherford. How was Rod Brind'Amour through all of it? Because, in that clip, he talked about how this provided, this framework for how not to do it when they had to make, a similar decision around Justin Williams with the Carolina Hurricanes. How was Brind'Amour through all of this as a teammate? And, what was he like? Because, you mentioned, off the top when you heard the clip, he's holding back. And I'm with you. I think that Brind'Amour, in the interview with Christine Simpson, I still think he wanted to be as diplomatic as he could. But I'm with you. I still think that there was some holding back there. How was Brind'Amour during that season?
You and I are doing media. Right? We don't have that attachment to the game like Roddy does. Roddy has to hold himself to a certain level of integrity as a head coach that represents an organization. And you really, and this is almost an endorsement again of he's still doing it. You want to keep the focus on the game and about the players. So yes, the media has a responsibility to report and give full disclosure on exactly what has gone on in the past and the storylines that may be present in this situation. But Roddy still tries to do everything he can to establish his level of integrity and still show he's the same consistent, good-natured, honest individual. So for him in this situation to hold back, I think he has no option but to.
Sure. What was he like that season? Like as a team, like I'm sure all you guys like, oh, this is awful what's happening to Brind'Amour here. What was Rod like?
I wouldn't say, like, here, I'm going to be honest and transparent. If it was me, I'd be burning it down. It'd be scorched earth. I'm like, if I've accomplished what Roddy's accomplished, if I've dedicated myself to this organization in a town, and let's be truthful. I mean, this team came here in 1997 and started playing in Greensboro. They got to Carolina, and I got here, I think, a year after they had moved to Raleigh. There was a level of growth of the game that was evidently occurring every single week. It wasn't a yearly thing. It was a weekly thing. And the players played a massive role in the cultivating and creation of a following within this town. Roddy was the key piece there because if you know the Southern environment and living in the South, they appreciate honesty. They appreciate integrity. They appreciate a workmanlike, just what Roddy was all about. He still managed to somehow maintain that level of integrity through the process. It's not to say that he didn't withdraw a little bit because, hey, listen, you pull the C off, you naturally can't be the normal guy. It's not your locker room. It's not your voice, right? And he still gave himself, like, Eric Staal did nothing wrong. And again, another testimony to how great a guy he is. He was there still with him under his wing, trying to help Stalzy, find his voice, find the right moment, learn from bad situations. And let me tell you, that year there was a litmus test for bad situations every game. We were epically bad, and it was toxic everywhere. So Roddy did more in the face of the adversity and the embarrassment that comes with getting the C taken off your jersey after you've dedicated everything you have to an organization and still stay in town, that I don't think many people had within them. Like I can guarantee you 99.9% be bitching to the media or finding a way for their agent to stir it up. Roddy did nothing of that.
One of the things that's, Brind'Aamour has done a number of impressive things in the game. One of the things that really impresses me about about him as a coach is he's done, for my money, one of the hardest things to do, and that is transition from an assistant coach to a head coach with the same organization and still get buy-in from the players. You know what it's like when it's assistant coach. It's all about, oh, well, you know what the head coach was really trying to say. You try to massage in what is generally a rough message from the head coach. Hey, I'm your buddy. I'm the assistant coach having a barbecue this weekend. Well, you and the wife and kids come on over, sit out on the back deck, tell some stories. It'll be wonderful. And then you become the head coach, and the guy that was inviting me to barbecues last week is now bag skating and scratching me. It's a really tough transition to make. You can make it going from an assistant coach position to a head coach position in another organization, but with the same team, that's difficult. What is it about Rod Brind'Amour, Aaron Ward, that allowed him to make that transition seamlessly?
Again, we'll go back to the analogy of there's the right way, there's the wrong way, and there's Kane's way. And to set this up, you're absolutely correct. And I've gone through it over the course of my career, and guys talk about having guys as assistant coaches in other towns and coming to new teams and having that assistant now as a head coach. And there's like what we call the fraud alert, that he's nowhere near the same guy, his level of integrity, his ability to relate to you, it's all gone. He's now the commander-in-chief, and he's running the tight ship. What happened with Roddy was put in a situation here, it's to prove himself. If you go back to when the position was open as a head coach, I think it was more or less prove it, right? It was a 1 year at $300,000. This organization was getting mocked for who the hell pays a National Hockey League coach $300,000? You got guys. You got Babs basically negotiating his own contract in the media at the time, how great he is. Just ask most of these coaches. Yep. There are very few and select coaches that will be humble enough, have enough humility to look at a situation and say, you know what, I should prove myself. And Roddy was that guy. So he signed on with Carolina for $300K. Guys are scratching their head oh, this is a no-win situation for him. And what he managed to do was not just maintain who he was, which is a very tough job. And the truth is, Roddy doesn't have the ability to change. And I think that's one of the things that most guys recognize as players that play for him and guys that played with him. Roddy is who he is to the core. So he maintained a high level of integrity as assistant coach and just transported as a head coach. And when you are Rod Brind'Amour, the player, and you have stories abound from guys that played with him, guys that played against him, and it's it's not the Rod the Bod stuff. It's what he put into being Rod the Bod. There's a level of investment that's consistent over decades to be that guy. And when you get to be a head coach, you have ready-mix, automatic respect, unlike any other coach that steps in, because you played the game away that most guys couldn't. And you did it for a very long time. So I think that's one of the stories as to why he's been so successful as a coach is that. And then you go back to the interview with Christine Simpson. The relatability of a guy that has gone through the crap to then take that lesson, learn it, and implement it in his own life. And let's be honest about hockey players. So whatever you know about them, essentially they're like every other human. When you get to a team, you're part of a team, but individually you want to feel like you're understood. Rod Brind'Amour, and I'll tell you from talking to guys that played with him, and still as I see him now, he will make every attempt to know you, to get to understand you, and that goes the distance for especially these modern day players. They're so in tune with themselves, they want people to know about them and understand them. Yep. And Roddy does that. You see those clips in the locker room of his motivational speeches, they resonate because they know that when he says that he believes it, it's just not a bunch of hot garbage that is being said for a camera and for show.